Hi, this is Paranormal Encounters, and I'm your host, Brenda McGee. Today I have a very special guest. His name is Derek Picard. He is a psychic medium. Hi, Derek. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Brenda. Thanks for having me.
How funny is it that you were my first guest on the show, and it was like a test show?
That was great. It was a good time, too.
Well, I appreciate you coming back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And I want you to tell us about yourself. I want you to tell everybody, because when you were here before, it's like you've come a long way. So I want you to tell everybody what you do.
Well, we do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
As you know, we do the paranormal investigations as part of our team. But we also I do card readings. I do psychic work. I've been studying a lot of mediumship, done a lot of mediumship development over the past couple of years. So.
And what type of readings do you do, card readings?
As far as card readings, it depends on what spirit tells me. You know, I can work with tarot, work with angel decks, work with psychic tarot decks, all types of decks. But it really depends on what the person's coming to me for and what I feel when they're with me.
And I know that you've worked with a lot of gifted people that you've studied under. Do you want to talk about that, or is that too personal?
No, it's fine. So. It was some great experiences, really good experiences. Besides the locals here and through the spiritualist churches and other classes that you find, I've gone with James Von Prague in California for 3 or 4 days out there, and there was some very intense mediumship work. I've also studied with John Holland and Lauren Rainbow, and that was out of Omega Center in New York. That was a whole week's worth, and that was really phenomenal. Some of the things that they put you through it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Now, I know that you did classes and things like that, but I know you're a natural at it. A lot of times it's just trusting, and sometimes you need to do steps like that to help you kickstart your path and things like that.
Yep.
Now, you started seeing spirit and experiencing at a young age.
Yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, maybe 6 or 7 years old, I would go downstairs in the basement. That's where the playroom was. And I would start seeing orbs just flying through the air all the time. And it would scare the heck out of me. So I'd start screaming for Mom. And I did everything in my power to shut it down and make it go away. And I did. It went away for a long, long time. Then through so many other people experience this, they have some type of traumatic event in their life. A lot of times it's health related. Right. With me, it wasn't health related, thank goodness. But in a very emotional, traumatic time in my life I went through, and that's when I started to reopen back up, because as soon as I hit rock bottom, they were there, and I could feel them, and I could start to see them and start to feel everything going on again, and that's when I really started to embrace it.
Now, was there anything in particular where you had an experience and you were like, this is what I'm meant to do, this is what I want to do? Or is it just all different things that you've done, like, you know what I mean?
I think it's a combination of everything different that I've done and always wanting to be there to help people. Because you see so many people that are in pain and suffering, and a lot of times it's something that they can get over and move on, but yet something's holding them back. And being able to tap in and getting some guidance from above and through the guides or through a past loved one can really help just give them the nudge that they need to move forward in their life.
Now, when you're working with spirit and you're giving readings and things like that, how do they show themselves? Do you see it in your mind's eye? Do you see them? Or does it vary?
It varies from time to time. A lot of times it's if it's a mediumship type of thing, a lot of times it is in my mind's eye. And people think that you can just see the person standing right in front of you, and that's not really the case. It's kind of like when you were a kid and you used your imagination. They're there, but
Right.
they're up in here.
Right.
And then you have to try to interpret everything that you see and give it out verbally so that your reader can actually understand who this person is.
You know, it's funny because when we first started coming in here and sitting here and waiting, you pretty much brought a huge spiritual team.
I got my entourage.
That's right. And it's funny because I always tell people that you always have backup. You just have to trust who you call on and things like that. And I know when you're doing paranormal investigations, like a lot of times you've heard things that people haven't heard.
You can hear sometimes. Sometimes you just know. Sometimes you can see it. And It all depends, really. It comes in various forms at different times. There's no one that I'm really in tune with. It pops in.
Right. So now if someone wants to get a reading or anything like that, how would they get in contact with you?
Use my website, which is readingswithderek.com.
Okay, and they can schedule right on there or just
Yep.
like send a message?
Yep, you can schedule right on there. You can book it right there online, or you can just send an email.
Awesome.
And we can do it that way.
Well, what is like the most, I know you've gone through a lot of experiences, not all good, with spirit. Do you want to talk about any of those experiences that you had?
Well, I think one of the most important one that I've ever gone through was learning what the real true beauty of having this gift was about. And it's not always helping people here on the physical world. It's also about helping spirit that has already passed. And they need to get something done and out. They need to get a message out to somebody. I was doing a reading, and this was actually with the group and with John Holland and Lauren Rainbow. And a gentleman was coming through. And the person I was reading for really didn't want this gentleman to come through. But he had some very important messages that he really needed to get out. And after our session was done, she came up and told me who this person really was and why he wouldn't say certain things. And it all kind of clicked together. And I don't want to get too personal and let all that information out.
Right.
But this spirit really needed to apologize for some things it had done. And she recognized that. And once she recognized it and she accepted it, it was nice. It was really nice. It was peaceful. It was beautiful. Yeah. And that's when I really learned what this gift was really, really about. It was helping both people. I helped heal a spirit that had passed, and I helped heal a woman that was still here.
And that's so important. And the worst part about it is when you're doing a reading or whatever, I always say, like with teaching and things like that, you have to give everything that you get. So it's like, even if the person is like, I don't want to talk to this person, you say, I have to acknowledge the spirit, and then, they can go, because if not, they're going to just keep going at you.
Exactly.
But I tell them they have to realize that it's part of their healing, even though they're, in a spiritual realm, that they still work through things that they didn't do on this earth plane, and they want to apologize.
Right.
So they can, because it is, beautiful on the other side and things like that, but some spirits have to work through things.
Yeah, they do. They do. This gentleman who had came through the spirit, he was a gentleman, and he wanted to apologize. And the client that I was working with at that point was, well, what does he want to apologize for? And when I had asked, the spirit literally just kind of turned and would not acknowledge. He would not say. And she was getting a little bit upset at that point. I was like, he won't tell me. I'm sorry. He says that you know. He doesn't want me to know. He will not tell me. But he also bent down and picked up flowers and handed her flowers. And the funny part is, at that point, I'm literally doing this, picking up the flowers and handing the flowers to her at the same time. And it just comes through.
Yeah.
But it needed to be done.
And it's funny because some people, I don't know, like they get upset when you say, when they want to know certain things, and sometimes spirit will be like, it's not for me to know.
Or it's not important anymore. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Just move on.
Exactly. And it's like, when we talk with other people, I say that, you can do the same thing. You just have to believe that you can do the same thing. You just have to relax and open up and want to see or want to hear or things like that.
Right. Everybody has that certain degree of ability to talk to the people that have passed and to pick up on the signs that come back to us. But the problem is we always block them.
Yeah.
We say, oh, that's a coincidence. We find a reason to brush it off instead of really understanding what it is. And once you truly, truly start to open up, you're just amazed at all the signs and all the things that come to you.
And how crazy is it that these other spirits or experiences that are not so nice happen to deter us from doing what we're supposed to be doing?
Time.
I mean, you've had physical things happen to you. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
I've gotten grabbed and pulled out of my bed. Not all the way, but a spirit came, grabbed my ankles, and pulled me about 2 or 3 feet out of my bed. Craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
Scared the heck out of me.
When people believe that they can't do stuff like that, but there are some that can.
Some can. And you have to learn how to open and close and protect yourself. And those were some of the steps that I missed. And I had to take responsibility for that.
Now, when did that happen to you? Was that a while ago?
That was at one of the, we were doing a photo shoot for an investigation that we're going to be doing, like a fundraiser. And that was about 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. It was at that lighthouse.
Yeah.
And there was, spirits there that we were like, yeah, we're not supposed to be here. Mm-hmm. And we didn't, you didn't close.
I didn't close. I was in a rush because I was supposed to go to work. So I was like, we need to go.
And something, I think that was a lesson that needed to be learned. Like, even though we're professional, a professional paranormal team, that sometimes we get deterred and we forget. And it's almost like they purposely do that to test us. Mm-hmm. So that was a lesson learned for you. Yep. And I learned it myself the first time when I went, and I didn't close. And it's awakening kind of thing.
It's like, hey, this is real. Don't play.
Right.
This is not a game.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that. And unfortunately, some people can get hurt. Some people can get attachments. Bad things can happen if you're not careful.
But they can also be fixed.
Yes,
Everything can be fixed,
mm-hmm.
is what I tell people. But a lot of, you do a lot of healing with your readings. You're also, we didn't even mention this, you do Reiki, mm-hmm. which is a form of energy healing. Mm-hmm. But I feel with you also, when you're doing your healings, you do above and beyond Reiki also.
A little bit.
A lot of bit, and that's energy healing, mm-hmm. and you are really good at that.
Thank you.
And I feel that, people need to know that that's, you do a lot of modalities, and you're gifted, very, very gifted.
Thank you.
So I need you to tell me again the website.
It is readingswithderek.com, and that's DEREK.
See, they need to know that.
Yep.
So now, when you do readings and things like that, do you feel like you channel or you go into this? Because I always tell people, like, I'm not going to read your reading when you come back, because I totally detach, mm-hmm. and most of the time it's channeling.
It is. The cards are there. They're used as a tool, and you're just opened up, and the information that you need to give that person comes to you. And sometimes the card is used to direct you into a certain path, and you'll be looking at it, and a certain color triggers something, and the information just comes through and it goes out. And it's not always just a card reading. Last weekend I had one client that came in, and it was just supposed to be a card reading, and 2 hours later, finally we were done. She needed it. It's what you need is what I'm going to give. Whatever they tell me we need to do is what we're going to do.
Right.
So there's a little bit of reading, a little bit of Reiki, a little bit of chakra work, and a little bit of relaxation to make her comfortable.
And you have no idea how healing that is for someone.
No, you don't. And the sad part about it, though, is sometimes you know that some people really, really need it, and you offer to help.
Yeah.
And they never take the opportunity.
They don't. You know why? Because what they don't understand, or sometimes a diagnosis that someone has, it defines that person. Mm-hmm. And they feel, hey, if I have this diagnosis and all of a sudden I'm going to be healed for it, it's not going to define me anymore.
Right.
People define themselves with their illnesses and diagnosis. I always say to
emotional issues.
Yeah, and I always say to people, don't let your diagnosis define you, because when you do, that's when the reality kicks in, and you mentally, it doesn't work good for you if you do that.
That's when the diagnosis wins.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's very important, honestly. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite investigation?
I would say the favorite one was at an undisclosed place we're not allowed to say. But it was in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
That was crazy.
And we walked in, and as soon as we walked in, before anything was set up, we were given a quick tour of the building. And we both looked towards the staircase off to the side, and we both saw a full-bodied apparition, which is like, you don't see that every day.
You don't. You don't.
Even us who are mediums and we can see dead people and things like that,
yeah.
you don't see this every day. But to see a full-body apparition, and it was a woman that we saw wearing a white dress.
Yeah.
And the best part was when we did the EVPs, after we asked, are you the woman that was wearing the white dress? And the response back was, it was red. That was an amazing time.
I want to actually do a show with all of our evidence, and we'll sit here and well, some of the places we can disclose, but some can't, because I really don't think that people realize, the evidence that we've caught.
No, they don't.
Is so amazing that they actually, talk back, and there is validation in things. People don't understand what they can't see.
Right.
Or feel.
Getting the evidence helps us to kind of clarify what's really going on and gives the client the validity that you're not crazy. There is something here that is you are experiencing.
Right.
And then we try to help them and give them all the tools and information and do a clearing or a blessing, whatever we need to do. Sometimes crossover spirits.
Yeah.
Help them. They're stuck. They don't understand.
Now, I know that there was something that happened to you. And it's funny because I think most people that I know have had the same experience. Do you know what I'm trying to...
The shadow man.
The shadow man.
The shadow man. The shadow man comes and visits everybody at some point who has gifted and has these abilities. And nobody's ever really pinpointed it, who he is, what he is.
Right.
But
it's at the point where you're saying, is this what I want to do spiritually?
Yep.
Or do I want to just shut things down?
Yep. He comes, he checks up, you see him, and you're like, okay, you need to go now.
Yeah, because it's a little unnerving. And sometimes it's like repetitive, like a couple of nights in a row, and sometimes it's once.
I had two, but they were two different people. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
One was the gentleman that I call the shadow man, completely black, male body, legs are cut off just under the knees, and he was standing in the doorway. And you could see him. He was blocking. It's a white door and a white door frame, and the shadow was blocking the white. You could not see the white door. And he wore a hat, and it was a wide brim hat.
Yeah.
And he was floating, and he was looking down towards me. And once I realized it, I said, you need to go now. You're not supposed to be here. And he vanished, and he disappeared. And the second one I saw, actually I believe it was my grandfather coming to check up on me.
Yeah.
And I had fallen asleep on the couch, and the TV was on. I have a really large TV. And I woke up, and there's a shadow blocking the TV. I cannot see the picture behind the shadow, and I'm looking, and definitely felt it was my grandfather. What I saw looked like my grandfather, but I couldn't make out any other features other than, just the body shape on him.
Now, when you start to how do you know when spirit's coming in? Do you get a feeling? Do you just know, or?
It's a little different every time. A lot of times you just start to feel a shift in the energy. You will start to get chills. I get the little hairs on the back of my neck that stick up. I feel all of that. If spirit's coming through me to start giving messages, just like many mediums you see on TV, you start to get your energy raising, and you start to really move a lot, and you become animated, and all of a sudden you're talking faster, and it just naturally happens.
Yeah.
And then you don't realize it. Once you realize it, like, wow, okay, that's all right. This really does happen like that.
But with you, sometimes it's like you get this look about you, and I know. I just know.
It's because I keep it in. Something's here, and I won't tell anybody. Something's here. You can feel it. Yeah.
And I used to do that, but now I just, all right, I know they're here. I need to acknowledge them, because if I don't,
well, it also depends on whose company you're in. If it's you and I
true.
together, I can say that. But
exactly.
If I'm at work, I can't say that.
No, you can't, because they have no clue, some of them.
Right.
Some people you can tell, and some people you can't.
Right.
But now, I see that you have an affinity with angels. You have such a connection with angels. And I can say that because I can see what's around you and what some people have affinities with. Mm-hmm. And you are definitely connected with angels.
Talk to them every day, work with them every day, thank them every day. They're here to help.
Yeah.
And as long as you ask and give them permission to intervene, they will help. Otherwise, they just have to stand by and watch. Sure, they'll try to nudge you, And
Right.
if you're in a very dangerous situation, like my car accident, they will talk to you and tell you what to do, because if they know you're going to get hurt, they're going to try to stop it.
Right.
But unless you give them permission, they can't help.
And that's what I tell a lot of people, that's what angels, that's one of their main jobs, is to guide you in everything that you need. But until you call on them, it's like they sit there and like, come on.
They're on the sidelines the whole time, wanting to get in the game.
Right, and they can't intervene. Sometimes they can when it is an accident and things like that. They can't stop it from No, I shouldn't say that. Yes, they can.
They can.
If that's what they're supposed to do. But I try to get people, because it's funny how if you say, do you believe in something, most people believe in angels. And I say, don't call on them when you're in a desperate need of something. Call on them to let you know that they're around you.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that.
Yep.
You don't have to be gifted.
Nope, you don't. And the funny thing is, once you call on them and you start talking to them, you will feel their presence immediately. You will start to see them.
Yeah.
You'll start to see the little twinkling lights, and it's not a problem with your vision. It's not a flying orb. There's a little twinkle, and there's colors, and the colors are representing different angels at different times. So.
Yeah, because I see them like you would see like stars.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
all in a group or whatever.
Stars,
like
or
glitter.
like a little firework or a little glitter thing going off here
It's
and
like
there.
a flashing thing. And I always tell people, do you see that? And there's nothing, there's no one taking a picture or anything like that. And they're like, yeah, I do see that. And I'm like, that's angels. And they're like, are you kidding? And I'm like, no. You just have to look for things. Some people are so blinded by things that are around them that if they would take the time, like they're in a lot of people that I've been dealing with lately, they're in such mourning that, they're saying to me, can they hear what I'm saying? I said, absolutely. Once you think of them, once you talk to them, they're there in an instant. Instantly. They don't have to go through the clouds, through the universe, through, the galaxy and things like that. I said they're right here.
There's no time, there's no distance, there's no space. It's instant. Absolutely.
And I admire you because that's one of your spiritual path things, is to give people that validation, that there is our loved ones and that they always can communicate with us, even though they're not here with us in the physical.
And trying to make them understand that sometimes. That's the hard part. That's the hard part sometimes. But once you're able to gather some evidence and let them know, this is real. There's no way he could know that. There's no way that he could see that person or know who they are.
Right.
I mean, do a mediumship reading over the phone. I don't know who the person is that's sitting in front of me. I have no picture of them. I'm not in their house. I don't know anything about them. But I was able to tap in and give a very good description of a woman who had passed, and her son was in the hospital, and he was on his journey of passing as well. And the mom had come through to give the messages that she's there, you don't need to worry, she's here taking care of him. Name everything. I mean, it was pretty phenomenal.
And you know something? Sometimes it's a lot easier because you don't have that person's facial expression in front of you. And sometimes you become so connected because they're not in front of you that they're like, oh my gosh, they would never know this.
Right.
And sometimes it's a lot easier to do it that way.
Right. It's funny you say that, because one of the exercises we did with John Holland and Lauren Rainbow was we were doing mediumship reads, and we set up rows of chairs, and we all sat facing each other. One person had to wear a blindfold. Once the blindfold went on, the other person, they all moved around. So we have a totally different person in front of us that we have to read for. And to be able to connect to that person sitting in front of you that you can't see, connect with spirit and get a reading and start, and no verbal validation either.
Right.
When we got something that was on the money, we got a tap on our knee. 1 was yes, 2 was no, 3 was I'm not sure. But to be able to get valid evidence that way and have it relate to the person in front of you was absolute proof that this works.
That's a great idea. I know you and I are planning some things, like mediumship things to teach people. But what a great idea is when you have, sometimes when we're blindfolded or in that meditative state, the amazing things that happen around us, because sometimes the visual part of someone sitting and, of course, reading energy and things, sometimes it throws you completely off.
Yeah, and that's where the fear comes in.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching you and I'm seeing those facial reactions or body movements, and that can throw me off. But if I can't see it, I just have to receive, interpret, and give it out.
Right.
It's really cool.
It really is, and I'm looking forward to this new year. How about you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think all those that are gifted, most are being heightened. So I really feel like this is like a new beginning for a lot of people, and it's like you have to go forward with stepping forward instead of stepping backwards.
Yep.
And
they're
see
making
that.
way. They're taking everything out of everybody's lives that no longer serves them
Yes.
and saying, here's your opportunity. If you commit, we're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what's happening.
And
Lots of people.
sometimes it's sad because it's people, you know, that are very near and dear, but it's you always have to go on. Most spiritual people, it's a solo thing. You pick up a couple on the way, but I think a lot of people are being heightened for this, and I know you're one of them. So we're running out of time, but Derek, how can someone get in touch with you again?
Just go on my website. All the contact info is there. It's readingswithderek.com. That's DEREK.
And they can schedule right on your website.
Just schedule right on the website.
Okay.
Or
Well,
shoot me an email from there.
well, thank you, Derek, for being
Thank you,
here.
Brenda. I appreciate it.
And if anyone has any questions or has any paranormal things that they need me to help them with, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And thanks for watching.